We're super happy to have him on board. He is going to be talking to us about BIM and just new technologies in the construction as a whole. He is a Virginia graduate who graduated in 2007. He came to the Hawaiian Islands shortly thereafterwards, where he worked for some architecture firms, and then quickly went over to Hawaiian Dredging to work on the Disney resorts as those were coming up. He's since then been put in charge of their BIM and technology. With that, Chris, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you start your presentation.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Will. I wanted to give a presentation today about just some general trends in the industry, and I would like to take questions via text. Everyone is muted today, but if you text questions as we go, I'll hold to the end to start taking those, and hopefully this can get a little conversational towards the end. Whenever I start researching a topic, I like to first look at where the money's at. And the graph you see here is some of the larger publicly traded companies in our space, with blue being software companies, the orange being equipment companies, the gray is contractors and engineering firms. And you see that, of course, the large software companies have the lion's share of market cap, and Oracle is one of the largest. Of course, they do a lot of things other than architecture and construction. But we've got Autodesk is the most prevalently used tool in the US for architecture and engineering firms, whether it's AutoCAD or Revit, Civil 3D. On the equipment side, we've got Caterpillar, Hitachi, Volvo, Komatsu. I'm sure you've seen their equipment everywhere. And then for contractors and engineering firms, a few of these have a presence in Hawaii. D.R. Horton, of course, is building homes. Kajima is the parent company of Hawaiian Dredging, where I work. Kajima is a Japanese corporation that has several companies within Kajima USA. So we'll jump straight to the biggest one on my list there, Oracle. And Oracle has a construction innovation center where they're testing out technologies. They're building an actual facility, and they've struck up a lot of partnerships to try the latest and greatest technology as they build this building. And a lot of what we look at with Oracle and regardless of the software that you're using is leading and lagging indicators. So the lagging indicators are what's happened in the past and gaining insights from what's happened in the past. And leading indicators are ways to predict what's going to happen in the future. And you hear a lot about these indicators and in safety through OSHA and construction job site safety. The lagging indicators would be your incident rates, what's happened on job sites. The leading indicators would be things like safety training, safety tests, PPE, things that you can put in place to prevent the occurrence of a future incident. And this also applies to scheduling and cost, where the leading indicators are typically used in the estimating and cost analysis side of things, where you preemptively, before that project starts, you're trying to figure out what your cost is going to be, what the budget's going to be, how long that project is going to take. And then the lagging indicators would be the tracking that you use on that project, where you're tracking labor rates, cost spent, the amount of time. And ideally, you to properly manage a project, you're using both leading and lagging indicators on a job. I found that in reality, once construction starts, things are moving very quickly, and it's hard to have the time to process your lagging indicators quickly enough to turn it into a leading indicator before you have an issue on a project. And one of the tools that Oracle has developed to help that is the Oracle Construction Intelligence Cloud Service. And this connects to Primavera. It connects to third-party applications, and it starts to look at each activity within a schedule and start to analyze, the likelihood that an activity will delay. And of course, that's functionality within P6, but it requires a lot of upfront input that, in my experience, rarely happens before the actual activity occurs. So I know that what they're trying to do with the AI and the intelligence side of things is you put in some variables beforehand, and it's able to reference back to them and determine some of those likelihoods for you automatically. So you've got your labor units, the expense, some of the things that are typically developed in an estimate, but are rarely connected throughout the job site. So you've got kind of this intelligent database that shows the intelligence cloud where you want to be. You can input a lot of information of where you're currently at, and then the intelligence cloud starts to help predict where you're at or if you're on track to hit your goals. And if you look at the blog, this is a relatively new product from Oracle. If you look at their blog, this is already being used by Hart. Right in the highlighted portion of this, the project controls group at Hart has deployed this, and they're using it to manage several of their contractors, which is pretty exciting to see some of this new technology deployed here locally. And I think with any of these platforms, you'll find that a lot of them are the central hub for a lot of different point solutions. I think these large companies realize that they're not going to be able to create a solution that encompasses everything. They're going to become a hub where several specialized point solutions are able to tie in and contribute data so that you can better understand what's happening. And a good way to research is to go to things like Oracle Construction Cloud, and their platform is relatively new. They have a handful of partners here. Another more established one is the Autodesk Construction Cloud. BIM 360 is kind of the heart of their current iteration of their cloud service that I know a lot of local projects are using, and they've classified their partners into several pools here of reality capture, data analytics, project management, and scheduling. So again, an excellent way to learn more about upcoming technology is to visit these hubs from the larger companies and figure out what startups they're partnering with and what each of them does. I wanted to jump in and cover a few of them today. Uh, one of the most prevalent ways to do reality capture now is through a consumer 360 camera, and I've done a lot of laser scanning in the past where you take precise measurements of things. That still has its place, but again, when you look at turning lagging indicators into leading indicators, usually by the time you've processed your data and really figure out what's going on, it's too late to make a difference in the work going forward. And with a 360 camera, you put it on a selfie stick, you run a video, and you walk around the job site with the 360 camera on your selfie stick, and you're able to capture a lot of data very quickly. And there's several solutions on the market that lets you turn that 360 imagery into some pretty exciting insights. One of them is Reconstruct, and this is an example of a point cloud, and these spheres represent stills caught from your video and your 360 camera, and those are all compiled and overlaid onto a plan view and turned into a 3D model of your construction job site. This solution is from smartvid.io. So they have connections now with some of these 360 video companies. So if you're walking around and collecting this 360 video, it can be multi-purpose. You can make a 3D model. You can use machine learning to start to find insights, and that's what exactly what smartvid.io does. And it really turns this into dashboards of some metrics of what might be important to your project manager and other stakeholders on the job. So a few of the things they're looking for is the ratio of lifts to ladders. Traditionally, lifts are more safe than ladders. So you generally want to see the ratio trending towards more lifts. Standing water, of course, is never a good thing and can indicate underlying problems. So that's one thing that it flags. Just general housekeeping issues, keeping the job site clean. These are all leading indicators where bad housekeeping is not necessarily an issue on a construction site, but it can quickly lead to more important issues like safety incidents. And then Power BI is increasingly being used as a tool to kind of turn this data into meaningful insight. So this is straight from smartvid.io. And you see that the photo counts are tracked by month, and it's typical to have thousands of photos per month. Again, it's not someone manually taking thousands of photos, but if you're doing a video walk every day with your 360 camera at the end of the day, and it's extracting a frame from every few seconds, these numbers can quickly add up and get you a lot of information. That information is very hard to look at and get insights and meaningful information. But when you let software process it for you, it can turn into a lot of information that's easy to digest. This is a dashboard showing an overall company interface where you'd have several projects, and looking at the trends of the company. It's able, every time it captures a person, it's going to be looking for PPE compliance, making sure they have glasses, hard hat, gloves on. And these tools are not used to find individuals that are breaking policies and punish them. I think we've been very clear about that in our efforts at Hawaiian Dredging. We are trying to understand the culture of the job site. So we'll never flag someone and say, hey, we have proof that you didn't have your PP on here. We'll use that as an indicator to show that, hey, particular job sites have been a little lax in their PPE requirements, and if they are, usually you can kind of change the culture, in proper safety culture. Regardless of who you are on that job site, if you see someone else without proper PPE on, you'll flag it to them, and you'll say, hey, you forgot, you forgot your hard hat, or hey, glasses on. And when you build that culture and kind of let everyone take ownership of it, it really drives compliance without trying to have it be something negative that everyone hates on that job site. Same with housekeeping, work at height. So it's finding these trends, it's evaluating how it's changing over time. And again, the idea is to correct things before they become an incident. So if you're starting to demonstrate a little bit of poor housekeeping, let's catch it early and fix the trend, rather than it, someone tripping, or something bad happening from that bad housekeeping down the road. Another tool is Structure Insight, and they use that same 360 imagery to track the progress of what's happening on the job site. They started with drywall, and they also have a concrete tool now. And basically, you input your floor plans, and when we do these video walks, you only have to give it the input of 2 points. You have to show it where you started your video walk. You have to show it where you ended your video walk. It'll kind of make a Google Street View and find the path in between that. And if you input some of the information of how many layers of gyp each wall has, where your soffits are, where your ceilings are, the linear framing that you have around the project, we're able to track that in a dashboard where every time you do a video walk, it processes it and tells you what percent complete are you on this floor, what percent are you complete on the overall building, and really have metrics that traditionally have been manually tracked. Another prevalent method of reality capture is with drones. And so 360 cameras do great on the inside of the building. If you want to get a plan view or an overall site plan, a drone and photogrammetry can fly a mission over the site and make a 3D model where you can get volumes of things. You can overlay plans. So this is an example of a cloud-based platform where you create an ortho image of your job, you overlay the floor plan on it, and then you can zoom in, make sure that your construction is happening per what the plan says. And this also works well when it happens very regularly. And I think one of the future trends that I haven't seen yet, but I know is coming, is linking this to the schedule, where the drone or the 360 camera is able to see that, hey, this column in this corner was scheduled to be poured a few days ago. I see that only the formwork is up right now, and we flag that as a schedule concern. And I think that a lot of these machine learning platforms rely on a training set of data to get you there. And even though we don't have that functionality right now, by amassing this kind of data pool of prior projects, I think companies are better preparing themselves to utilize some of these AI solutions of how they traditionally do work on their projects. Taking that a step further, there's tools like Quartz and Versatile, and these tools mount cameras and sensors on cranes, and they give you a very real time indicator of lagging indicator of what's happened on the job that prior day, or even real time alerts of what's happening in real time. So this versatile device has a load cell on it. It's got a RTK GPS. It's got accelerometers. It's got a camera, and it's able to use AI to classify what exactly is being hoisted, how long did it take, what are the outliers, why did some picks take longer than others, and give the construction team a dashboard of things that are happening and insights that they may not have caught offhand. And one real world example I have of this, not from our company, from another company using Versatile, is they're doing concrete pours with a bucket, and they found that every 10th pour or so was taking more than twice as long as the others. And on the job site, they're kind of blind to it. They realized it was happening. They said, "Oh, it must be worker fatigue. Maybe it's happening towards the end of the day." And by grouping, when you have an outlier that's happening in real time, it's really hard to analyze what's happening without seeing it in the context of the bigger context of the overall job. And what they did with Versatile is they were able to find out that it was actually the vendor's construction or concrete truck. They had one older truck in their fleet that was just pumping out concrete twice as slow as the other trucks in the fleet. So they're able to figure that out before the guys on the construction site were, and they're able to go to that vendor and say, "Hey, we don't want this concrete truck coming to our job sites anymore because it's costing us time and money." Caterpillar, of course, largest construction equipment manufacturer. They do a lot of autonomous work now, meaning that there's no driver in the cab. It's running completely on its own, and they're doing it primarily in mines, where it's a controlled environment, not very many people on the job site, and they're using lidar and some of the technologies that self-driving cars are using, but they're able to sell an autonomous product and run it without needing human input anymore. And I think with building construction sites and with self-driving cars, there's a lot more variables in place. So it's taking the companies longer to get there, but I think that's a good preview of where the industry is heading. And of course, there's machine grade control. Um, Companies like Trimble and Caterpillar you'll see RTK GPS mast on this equipment where it's tracking where they're at. It's measuring efficiency of the operations and saying, are we using this diesel fuel in our time in the most efficient manner possible? And a lot of those lagging indicators again are turned into something meaningful uh, fast enough to where you can change your workflow rather than reviewing at the end of the job and trying to learn what you could have done better the next time. A few up and coming products. So this idea of having something autonomous on the job site scales down to something small in building construction here. This is Dusty Robotics, and these guys make a small robot that hooks up to the total station, and it essentially turns it into a printer for the concrete slab. So rather than having to refer to plans and figure out how many layers of gyp and what the details are, what your roof opening sizes are, this connects to your BIM model and literally prints it all right on the slab for you. And a lot of these robotics companies, they don't sell these robots outright anymore. They sell it as a service, and you know they realize that they need to get data back from their customers to make their product better as well. And you know, in turn, they pass those benefits on to their customers. So this is an exciting example of how some of that autonomous and robotics technology can kind of get miniaturized and really be used on any construction site, regardless of the scale. So I mean, I think you can imagine some of the efficiencies gained by, yeah, of course, we'll still use plans, but having those plans printed right onto your slab makes it a lot faster rather than having to pull a tape or a total station or something to measure out where you need to build at. And then taking it a step further, rather than limiting it to laying out the work, this is a robotics company out of the Bay Area called Canvas, and they make a drywall robot. So this robot is right now finishing drywall. I know that they have others that hang drywall as well. So I think you're going to see a lot of, as these robots become more site aware and they're able to start to work together, you're going to see a lot of different automation kind of popping in. Another example from Hilti, one of the largest equipment manufacturer or tools manufacturers. They have a robot now called the JBot, and this one is basically taking overhead coring, which is labor intensive, tedious task, and automating that. So the spraying, the sensing if they're hitting rebar, the coring itself is all done by this robot from Hilti. And now I'll take a step back and go to kind of the planning of these jobs. Everything that I focus on so far is after the construction has started. But here's an example from the city and county of Honolulu. They have a really good GIS program run under Ken Schmidt, and they're partnering with Esri to work on their product called ArcGIS Urban. So this is the Mo Ili Ili neighborhood, right behind the convention center. And rather than making planning changes and having to study the effects, this platform ArcGIS Urban shows you the result of zoning changes in real time. So the color coding is by use, and then they have different scenarios they can toggle between, and it'll take variables like setbacks and height limitations, floor area ratios. It plugs them all into this engine, and it says, okay, well, if we develop this and everyone is developing out to the max that you're allowing, this is what your neighborhood may look like with those inputs. And if we go a little more granular with that and we're looking at individual buildings, there's a company testfit.io based out of Texas. And this company is taking lot by lots, and they're populating units into it. They're running hundreds of scenarios, and they're letting you analyze. Okay, am I taking advantage of the FAR that's allowable on this site? We can put in height limitations, number of floors. You can edit things, look at typical units and unit mixes, and really optimize a building very quickly. Get it to Revit and start creating a BIM from it. So everything is getting a lot faster with this automation. I don't think it's going to replace the design process, but it'll certainly inform it. If you can look at hundreds of different iterations of a building and look at some of the metrics that they show here, your site can't change. You have a job site or a proposed development site, and those metrics are in place. Same with the zoning. You can plug in zoning criteria. It's unlikely that you're going to get a project rezoned, but what can you do within those criteria? And test fit really takes advantage of that and helps you quickly track what are the parking ratios, what's required, what's optimal. You can even start to plug in some of the cost of what might these units cost to build, and how much can we get for them? What are the market rates, and how much profit could I potentially get from this lot? And usually a developer is going to go through a pretty intensive uh, preliminary design and programming process to get that information, and this can help expedite that significantly. So it's in summary, I think that these technologies are really starting to encompass the full cycle of projects, where you start with either a renovation or demolition, new project. You've got tools like ArcGIS Urban in the planning phase, Test Fit in the early design phase, and then we're going into BIM and analysis for design. Our documentation is getting more real time, and fabricators are, of course, tying into this as well. There's smart tracking in tools like BIM 360, where you can see when material has arrived on site, when it has been installed. Um, Quartz and Versatile are tracking that at a more granular level on the job site, where you can look at each particular embed or sleeve or piece of precast going into a building, and having real metrics of how long did it take to put this in place. In the case of concrete construction, what are the various steps? You're placing formwork, you're dropping in rebar, you're pouring concrete, stripping formwork, and each of those individual steps uses crane time, and then the aggregate shows you a picture of how long that column took, or that wall, and then you can step back and say, okay, well, how long did this take relative to the other ones? Why are some things taking longer than others? And that's how you really start to turn some of these metrics into actionable insight that help you increase the efficiency of your jobs. And then digital twins and operations is something that is being tackled by Oracle Autodesk, where you're using that same information to track the manuals as the people are operating the building, or log how often you're even changing a light bulb, and finding outliers. And so I think, in summary, everything is becoming more data driven. There's a couple of big players out there that kind of, I think, will become the hubs of where all this data ties into and resides. And there's a lot of exciting startups that tie into it and form the process in very interesting ways. And with that, I'll wrap it up and start to take questions if there are any.
Hey, Chris, we did have a a question come through in the chat. Question asks, how often are you integrating schedule into these technologies like BIM?
I would say on our more recent projects, we're doing it on most of the time, and the level of integration is changing. Um, the traditional way is to take individual activities in a construction schedule, and then tie them to elements, and then say, okay, well, what is this activity doing to this element? Is it constructing it? Is it a temporary element? Is it demolishing it? That's been done in Navisworks for a long time, and I think the next level of sophistication of that is going into Oracle or Autodesk products like a Symbol, and kind of having a cloud version of that, and then also not only tying in the overall construction schedule, but getting into the 3 week look ahead in the day-to-day operations. And I will say that we've gotten to the point now where we are inputting that information from the field directly to the model. So we have a very accurate idea of cost as a lagging indicator, and turning that into a leading indicator and planning it out in the future is kind of where we're headed and what we're starting to do.
If anyone else would like to ask a question, feel free to type it in the chat. Or I guess, Chris, if people want to come off mute and ask a question, is that all right as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, either way, if you're comfortable.
Yeah, Chris, I kind of want to follow up on that. How do you, so you said you're getting data directly from the field. How do you, like, and you don't have to answer this, but does your company feel pretty confident in the data that they're getting? Like, I've often found it's really tough to get some people in the field to really buy into some of the more future technologies and get them to provide good information there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of the answer to that is making sure that things are passive or don't take much time on the job site to implement. So in the case of, Versatile, it's on the tower crane, it's tracking things, it's building a log for us, and all that we do in the field is change the batteries on it. In the case of the 360 video walks, we are doing video walks on our big job sites daily now. So someone's walking through the job site with that 360 camera, and it's tracking on a daily basis how much has changed, what's different. So I think a lot of that is offloading the manual task to an AI software rather than trying to do it manually on the job site. On the job site, everyone's too busy. A typical construction site, everyone's typically just working, figuring out how fast can we get it done, how can we stay on schedule, and frankly, they don't have time to go back and do a lot of analysis and input of what's happening in real time. So I think the way that we're accomplishing that is by kind of delegating some of that manual tracking tasks to the software that we're using.
Awesome, thanks. That sounds pretty impressive.
Hey, Chris, I got a question kind of on that same topic regarding the schedule and integrating the schedule, automatically with these BIM models. Is that something that Oracle is working with Construction Site, for example? I'm using Construction Site on the Cooler project with you guys, and I'm just trying to I'm just trying to understand how you would get the P6 schedule and Construction Site to talk to each other. And I realize it's probably not happening at this point, but you said, it's going to be able to identify columns and kind of notice when things are not happening at the right time. I'm really interested in that. So I don't know if this is a separate conversation I could have with you, but is Oracle working with that, or is it more like Construction Site trying to?
I would say both. Right. So right now, Construction Site, I'm actually actively working with them on the name of the product on Construction Site is called Smart Track.
Okay.
And like I mentioned earlier, right now it encompasses drywall and concrete. So drywall is where they started, and concrete I think they're just going live with, and it's right now you manually have to input that information into Construction Site to show it how much, how many walls do you have, how many layers of gyp, what's the square footage of gyp, what's the linear foot of track, and it doesn't talk well to other solutions yet, but I know that they're working on that, and I think key is making it more BIM driven. When you have BIM, you have a unique, they call it a global ID. You have a unique identifier for every element in the project. And if whether you're using Oracle or P6 or Construction Site, I know that Versatile already takes advantage of this. If you reference and say, hey, this is the activity that's happening to this element in the BIM model, I think that's where a lot of the kind of synergy between these products can happen very quickly. So Struction Site right now is standalone, but I know that the next phase of their implementation is tying it into BIM and the ability to tie it into every platform, an extension of that. And the Oracle Construction Cloud is brand new as well. And they do have a partnership with Autodesk, and they've focused more on the Primavera side than the BIM side of things. But there is some exciting links that are happening that are a little more intelligent than just a straight import of a Primavera schedule and assigning the tasks to BIM elements. So you know, I don't think what you're asking for is quite available or matured yet, but you know, I do think that by using the technology that's out there, it helps you kind of stay ahead. And yeah, Smart Track can't do it right now, but we're familiar enough with the tool, and we've implemented it in a way that as soon as they flip the switch, we're ready to go with it.
Yeah, that's I appreciate that. That's really interesting. Like the whole global activity IDs that are, you know, going between products is a really interesting idea. Thank you for that.
Okay, I see a couple more questions in chat here that I'll read off. One, I don't know how much this will speed up processes that normally sit on projects, such as permits, HECO, special inspections. I think that the good PMs and CMs foresee upcoming issues that may stall designers in construction and have them resolved ahead of time. Absolutely, and I think some of this technology is starting to. Oracle uses the term datafy, where they take experience, like a good PM will know how long it typically takes for a HECO permit of various sizes of projects. But if you start to save that in a database, and then you start to see that hey, maybe there's some correlation between the lot size and how long it takes to process the HECO permit, or maybe it's linear, maybe it's there's no relevance there, and it takes roughly the same amount of time every time. You know, and I think what we're starting to see is a lot of that experience that traditionally takes 30 plus years to gain. How are you turning that into a database that everyone can take advantage of and look at and start to get insights from historical things that in a lot of cases you don't have control of. And then one more. The state of Hawaii has a renewable energy goal, and lots of projects are in the pipeline, utility scale projects. Can this technology help build projects faster? And I would say definitely. And with utility scale projects, I think you'd be looking more on the GIS side of things. So the integration of GIS and BIM is a very hot topic right now, and I know that the city and county of Honolulu is starting to look at that as well, where we have like an ArcGIS urban model that you're starting to import very detailed models of individual buildings as well. And it's I think it's the ability to jump up and down in granularity very quickly. You know, when you look at GIS, you're looking at a map of the entire island typically, and how pieces of it tie into each other. When you look at BIM, it's almost strictly on a project by project basis. We have one project, one building. We're going to add a lot of detail to it in BIM, and then we're going to kind of put that on a shelf somewhere or in the cloud when the project is complete and move on to something else. But if you take all that information and tie it back into GIS, so you have kind of a holistic view of a lot of detail from several projects, I think that's where you can get into some pretty powerful ways to turn some of these larger projects and automate them as well. Someone asked about recordings. Yes, the meeting was recorded and a link can be sent out.
Well, if there are no more questions, then I think we'll just close this meeting. Chris, just want to say thanks again. This is always one of our more popular presentations because I think it is just so interesting watching where the industry is going as a whole. I found that presentation very fascinating, and thank you, and thanks everyone else for making time out of their day. With that, I think I'll bring it to a close.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.